Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Grandin Civic Center for the 8th week of the 2018 Music Under the Stars series. Tonight we host two guests for this concert, so we will introduce our guest conductor first and then begin our program. Dr. Shawn Smith is visiting us from the state of North Carolina, where he is the Director of Bands and Associate Professor of Conducting at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. He is in high demand as a band and orchestra conductor, a clinician, and an adjudicator. Not only does he guest conduct here in the United States, he does the same kind of engagements in South America as well, in the countries of Brazil and Argentina. Aside from his work on the podium, he has also presented numerous educational clinics, workshops, and speeches, most notably at the International Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic in Chicago. Finally, as an accomplished trumpeter, Dr. Smith has served as principal trumpet in the top ensembles at Louisiana State and Boise State, along with performing with several symphonies. He has chosen a varied program for you tonight, so without further ado, would you please welcome Dr. Shawn Smith. Dr. Smith opens tonight's program with Overture to Candide, which is an operetta with music composed by the great Leonard Bernstein, and it's based on the 1759 novella of the same name. The operetta was first performed in 1956. Although the stage work as a whole received mixed reviews when it opened, the music was immediately a hit. Much of the score was recorded with an original cast album, which was a success, and it is still in print. Standing alone, the overture soon earned a place in the orchestral repertoire. After its premiere performance in 1957, it quickly became popular and was performed by nearly 100 other orchestras within the next 2 years. Since that time, it has become one of the most frequently performed orchestral compositions by a 20th century American composer. And in 1987, it was the most often performed piece of concert music by Bernstein. It's fast, it's tuneful, and it's fun. Here is the Overture to Candide, arranged by Claire Grunman and composed by Leonard Bernstein. The next piece was another orchestral composition that was arranged for band and was written by Mexican composer Arturo Marquez. Along with a couple others, this piece is one of the most popular and most frequently performed orchestral pieces out of the Mexican contemporary genre. To add, this piece has also gained an important spot in modern concert band literature with this very band arrangement. Contemporary Mexican music has a lot of different accented notes and changing tempos, and those attributes reflect the dance style named the danzón. The danzón has its origins in Cuba, but it's a very important part of the folklore of the Mexican state of Veracruz. And this music was actually inspired by a visit to a ballroom in Veracruz. This piece had its premiere performance in Mexico City in 1994, and to mention again, since then it has jumped to the top of the list in being one of the most popular pieces of Mexican music for wind ensemble and concert band. Arranged by Oliver Nickel, this is from Arturo Marquez, Danzón number 2. Grammy Award-winning composer and conductor Eric Whitacre is one of the most popular musicians of his generation. His concert music has been performed throughout the world by millions of amateur and professional musicians alike, while his groundbreaking virtual choirs have united singers from over 110 different countries. If you haven't seen that on YouTube, you need to check it out. It's easy to find. Search for Eric Whitacre Virtual Choir, and it'll pop right up. Musically, it's one of the most amazing things you will ever see. There is a very cool story behind this, and it's told from Whitacre's point of view, so I'd like to shift to that tense to tell you about it. Soon after I attended a musical theater workshop, I received a call from a major film studio after I got recommended to them by Stephen Schwartz. The studio wanted to know if I might be interested in writing music for an animated feature. I was incredibly excited, said yes, and took the meeting. The studio heads said that they had always wanted to make an epic adventure, a classic animated film based on Kipling's The White Seal. I have always loved animation, and I couldn't believe that I might get a chance to work in that grand tradition on such great material. After reading the beginning of the story, I wrote down an opening as quickly as I could and had my wife record the vocal line while I accompanied her at the piano, and then dropped it off at the film studio. I didn't hear anything from them for weeks and weeks, and began to think, did they hate it? Was it too complex? Did they even listen to it? Finally, I called them, begging to know the reason that they had rejected my tender little song. "Oh," said the executive, "we decided to make Kung Fu Panda instead." So, I didn't do anything with it, just sang it to my baby son every night to get him to go to sleep. The success rate on that was less than 50%. But a few years later, it was graciously commissioned by a group of singers, and they gave it new life. So with that backstory, we'd like to present The Seal Lullaby, composed by Eric Whitacre, as Dr. Shawn Smith leads us. we shift gears to bring you the first work by our guest soloist this evening, and that is Lynne Stukart. She is an award-winning flutist and highly respected educator, along with being a performing artist with Altus Flute Company. Lynne has performed throughout the United States and Europe and has been a winner in several competitions. She has served as principal flute with several ensembles, including some more local ones like the Dubuque Symphony Orchestra, the Galesburg Symphony Orchestra, and the Quad City Symphony Orchestra. In addition to running her own flute studio, Lynne is in high demand as an adjudicator and clinician, and she is passionate about leading musicians of all ages and abilities to discover their personal best. We're sure that you will enjoy her playing as well, so would you please welcome her to Sterling and to our stage tonight, Lynne Stukart. Ms. Stukart's first choice for tonight's program is a movement from the Concertino for Flute and Wind Ensemble, composed by Keith Gates. Ms. Stukart will play the second movement of this work, which is a nocturne. This movement is suggestive of the haunting, lyrical mood projected in the solitary nocturnes that were written by Frédéric Chopin. We hope you enjoyed this work from Keith Gates, the second movement, Nocturne, from the Concertino for Flute and Wind Ensemble. Lynne Stukart, ladies and gentlemen. And we shift gears again, as Dr. Smith will join the podium here in just a moment to present this next work by composer Pedro Salgado, who began studying music at the age of 15 and soon composed his first piece of music after that. Salgado was the author of 4,000 pieces of music, which is a bit difficult to show definitively since he often sold and publicized songs without having copies, but just over 1,000 pieces have been indexed. This piece is considered by many in South America to be the anthem of bands in Brazil. This work is also known to be his masterwork, which was recorded 4 different times between 1957 and 1973. In this piece, you'll hear the main theme immediately. The accompaniment displays rhythms that are common in traditional dobrados, of which he had written several. This is a Brazilian march entitled Dois Corações, which translated means 2 hearts, and composed by Pedro Salgado. Would you please welcome back to the podium, Dr. Shawn Smith.
They hid the mic right in front of me. What do you know? Isn't this a beautiful evening for a concert? My goodness. Yes. You all must be living right. This is a beautiful night. I just wanted to say a couple words. I try to be really careful about that because us conductors, we come across as much more intelligent when we don't speak. That's why you don't hear us talk very much. But I did want to say just a quick word about this march. I've had the opportunity to go down to Brazil many times now and become acquainted with their music. And as Patrick said, this march is very special to Brazil. It's kind of like their Stars and Stripes forever in a way. Everyone recognizes it, they love it when bands play it. And so I'm always excited to bring it here to audiences in the United States that aren't familiar with the Brazilian dobrado or this piece specifically. So I'm very happy to share it with you. I will say, I did this piece with the Montana All-State Band last fall, and I put a clip of it on Facebook, and it has been viewed now about 60,000 times in Brazil. They love to hear American bands playing their music, so they're very excited. So if you want to make the Sterling Municipal Band very famous in Brazil, go ahead and take a clip and put it on YouTube or Facebook or something. We'll get them famous down in South America. We hope that you enjoy this dobrado, Dois Corações. Thank you.
We go from a Brazilian composer back to an American composer and visit the music of Leonard Bernstein once again. This is a very popular arrangement of the famous dance music from West Side Story. The original 1957 Broadway production marked Stephen Sondheim's debut on Broadway as a lyricist. The first run had 732 performances before it went on its first tour in '59. It was nominated for 6 Tony Awards, including Best Musical in 1957, but the award ended up going to The Music Man. Then came the film version in 1961, which starred Natalie Wood. Also, the musical had a quick return to Broadway in 1960, and then again in '64, and then in 1980. 2 more tours in the United States occurred in 1985 and 1995, with yet another Broadway revival in 2009, and the last U.S. tour took place in 2010. This music is, of course, unforgettable, and you will hear 4 different movements for each dance. We begin with the scherzo. The second movement is the very famous mambo. Following that, the subtle cha-cha, and then we end with a fugue based on the song Cool. We're sure that you enjoy this one, and we know that you'll like it too. 4 dances from Bernstein's West Side Story, arranged by Ian Polster. In a moment, Miss Stukart will return to the stage to perform one of those pieces of music that is within the mind's ear of most people, and that is the habanera aria from the opera Carmen, composed by Georges Bizet. It is the entrance aria of the title character, and it takes place within the first act. For you musicians out there, this is based on a descending chromatic scale, and it bounces back between the major and minor modes on the point of D. And all that corresponds to the vicissitudes of love expressed in the lyrics. And if you can speak French, you know what the lyrics are. Since this tune is so well known and it's rarely sung in English, I'd like to share those lyrics with you as you hear it from the beginning of the singer's first verse. Love is a rebellious bird that none can tame, and it is well in vain that one calls it, if it suits it to refuse. Nothing to be done, threat or prayer. The one talks well, the other is silent, and it's the other that I prefer. He said nothing, but he pleases me. And with that, we present the piece to you, and you'll hear the very famous melodic line performed by our guest flute soloist instead of the human voice. Arranged for solo flute and concert band by Matt Johnston, this is the Bizet Habanera from Carmen, and to play it for you, please welcome back Miss Lynne Stukart. finger masterwork of Lynne Stukart, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Shawn Smith will return to the podium once again to lead us in this next piece by composer José Ursacina da Silva, who was born in 1950. He is affectionately known as Maestro Duda and is one of Brazil's most famous composers, arrangers, and conductors of native dance music. He is now 83 years old, and Maestro Duda is still very active in music today. This piece of his is a collection of 4 popular Brazilian folk dances from the state of Pernambuco, which is in northeast Brazil. After an introduction, you'll hear a caboclinho, an energetic war dance which is very popular during the annual Brazilian Carnival celebrations. The second movement is a beautiful and melancholy saudade, meant to evoke a deep feeling of longing or nostalgia. The third movement is a coco, a fun and energetic dance featuring heavily syncopated music with African influences, and the suite ends with a celebratory frevo, also popular during the Brazilian carnival season. The frevo is a high-energy dance featuring colorful umbrellas and quick foot movement. Enjoy this composition by José Ursacina da Silva. This is his Suite Pernambucana de Bolso, and please welcome back to the podium, Dr. Shawn Smith. gentlemen, Dr. Shawn Smith. Okay, at our commercial time right now, we remind you that Sterling Main Street will not show a movie here at Grandin next Tuesday, but if you'd like to sit here in the park alone and meditate underneath the stars, you're certainly welcome to do that. Each week in our concert programs, a list of area residents and businesses is published to show those who have donated to the finances of our organization. We encourage you to donate as well, not only to become a part of that family, but to contribute to a big portion of what we do, and that is the fact that we bring guest conductors and guest soloists to perform with us, not only in the summer, but all year long. That was certainly evident with Wayne Bergeron last week, and you've seen some of those folks before your eyes tonight with Dr. Smith and Miss Stukart. We have just a couple more weeks before we close out our 2018 Music Under the Stars season, and we encourage you to take your programs home for some self-reminders, if you will, for the guests that we will have on stage with us before our season is over. Dr. Curran Prendergast will guest conduct the band next Wednesday at 7:30. Dr. Smith, Ms. Stukart, before we take our leave this evening, we ask you to, Lynne, if you would please come out on stage right now at this time for a short presentation. And folks, will you please welcome both of our guest artists, and to make the presentation, of course, the mayor of the city of Sterling, Mr. Skip Lee.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful evening. Before I make my presentation, I'd like to take a moment and ask you to take a moment to just have a little gratitude for what we have here. This wonderful band. Great city and a great country. We are so lucky, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to be here tonight. As many of you are aware, it is our custom here in Sterling to honor those who have contributed to the well-being of our citizenry by some action. We are so thrilled to have this municipal band here. It is truly one of our crown jewels. As part of that, we'd like to make a presentation to Mr. Hart and Dr. Smith. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. This is Alderwoman Rita Elston. Excuse me, Rita, I almost forgot. It is our habit to recognize those who have come and shared their experiences with us. So on behalf of the City of Sterling, the Sterling City Council, our citizens in this band, and the wonderful people who are out here tonight, we'd like to present each of you with a key to the city so that you may in fact think of us fondly and return.
Thank you so much. I'll just say a couple words here before we conclude our program. First of all, it is just such an honor and a privilege to be here with you this evening and with this marvelous band. Municipal bands, town bands are part of the heritage of our country, and it is so heartwarming to see that they're still alive and well. And I will tell you, you have a real treasure here. I've traveled around quite a bit throughout the country working with bands, and there are very few towns that have a band of this caliber, a facility like this. I hope you realize how special this is. And please continue to support this marvelous, marvelous band. Thank you, band. I also just need to thank Cathy James and John James for the invitation for me to be here, to work with this fine ensemble, and to share this music. It's been a real pleasure and a real treat for me. This is a very difficult program, and on one rehearsal, it really is remarkable what this band accomplishes. It's a testament to the fine musicianship on the stage, as well as the great music education that's going on in this area. So congratulations to all music teachers and everyone that's involved with music in this area. I just get to come and enjoy the fruits of your labor, so I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll now leave you with a very fun and energetic march by Henry Fillmore. It's kind of a circus march, so it's much faster than the Sousa marches than we're used to. But it's entitled His Honor by Henry Fillmore. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your welcoming spirit here in this great town. Thank you.
Shawn Smith. Lynne, come out once more, would you please? Would you please stay resident for our national anthem as we conclude our program?